It happens in the middle of something completely ordinary. You are changing their diaper, or folding laundry with them on the playmat nearby, or eating something at the kitchen table because you finally remembered you haven't eaten since this morning, and you look down at your baby, and they are already looking at you, not glancing, not tracking movement the way they track the ceiling fan or the shadow on the wall, looking, fully, completely, with a stillness and an intensity that seems almost out of place in someone who cannot yet hold their own head up without wobbling. Their eyes are locked onto your face and they are not blinking. They are not reaching. They are just looking at you with an expression that is hard to name, something between wonder and recognition and something older than either. And for a moment the laundry and the diaper and the half-eaten toast disappear and you feel it, that pull, that sense that something is happening here that is larger than the ordinary moment you were in a second ago. And then they blink, and you both move on and you think maybe it was nothing. It was not nothing. What your baby is doing when they stare at you that way, with that specific, unblinking, whole-body stillness, is one of the most neurologically complex and emotionally significant things a human being can do in the first months of life. And the reason they are doing it will change how you understand almost every moment you share with them from this one forward. If this is already making you see your baby differently, hit the like button and subscribe, it really helps. And drop a comment telling me how old your little one is right now. I love knowing who I'm talking to. Here is what you need to know first. Your baby comes into the world with a brain that is, in the most literal sense, unfinished. At birth, the human brain is approximately 25% of its eventual adult volume. The remaining 75% is built after birth, outside the womb in direct response to experience. Not programmed in advance, not hardwired, built. And the most powerful raw material in the entire construction project is not a toy, not a program, not a piece of developmental equipment you can order online. It is a face. Specifically, it is your face. Neuroscientists studying infant visual development have known for decades that human newborns show a preferential bias toward faces from the first hours of life. A newborn presented with a face-shaped stimulus and a scrambled version of the same features will consistently track the face-shaped one for longer and with more sustained attention. This preference appears before learning can account for it. It appears to be built in, a factory setting in the architecture of the human visual system that says, faces are the most important thing in your environment. Pay attention to them. But here is what is more surprising, and what most parents never hear explained. The preferential attention to faces in early infancy is not just a perceptual bias, it is a construction mechanism. Every time your baby stares at your face, they are not passively receiving information. They are actively building the neural circuitry that will allow them to read human emotion, predict human intention, feel human connection, and regulate their own internal states in the presence of another person. The staring is not admiration, it is architecture. Your baby is between 6 and 12 weeks old the first time this becomes unmistakable. In the first weeks of life, the visual system is so limited that they are primarily tracking contrast and movement, the edge of your hairline, the dark of your eyes against the lighter surround of your face, the shape of your mouth when you speak. But somewhere around 6 weeks, something changes. The visual cortex has matured enough that they can now hold a face in focus at the specific distance of about 8 to 12 inches, which is almost exactly the distance between your baby's face and your face when you are holding them. This is not coincidence. The focal range of the newborn visual system appears to have been calibrated across millions of years of evolution, specifically for the distance of the nursing position. The first face your baby was ever designed to see clearly was yours. And when it comes into focus for the first time, something happens in their brain that has no equivalent in any other developmental moment. The fusiform face area, a region of the brain dedicated specifically to processing faces, begins its long process of specialization. In adults, this region responds more strongly to faces than to any other category of visual input. In newborns, it is not yet specialized. The specialization happens through exposure, through the accumulated experience of staring at faces, particularly the faces of the people who are most present, most responsive, most reliably there when the baby looks. Your face is not just the first face they see. Your face is the template from which their entire understanding of human connection will be built. Now, there is a specific moment in this early developmental window that researchers call the quiet alert state, and it is the state your baby is in during those long, still, unblinking stares. Newborns cycle through several behavioral states throughout the day: deep sleep, light sleep, drowsy, crying, fussy, active alert, and quiet alert. The quiet alert state is the rarest and the most neurologically significant. It is the state in which the baby is wakeful, but physically still, internally calm, but externally attentive, with maximum sensory resources available for processing the environment. It is the state in which learning is most efficient, in which the brain is most receptive, in which the neural connections formed by experience are most readily laid down. And the stimulus your baby's brain is most likely to enter the quiet alert state in response to, the stimulus that most reliably produces this optimal learning condition, is your face. They are not staring because they are bored. They are not staring because they cannot look away. They are staring because your face is the most important, most complex, most neurologically rewarding object in their entire environment, and their brain is in the specific state designed for building the architecture that your face requires. Think about what that means for a moment. Every time you are with your baby and they stare up at you, they are not waiting for something interesting to happen. You are already the most interesting thing that has ever happened to them. The quiet, alert stare is your baby's brain saying, "This is the one. This is the face I am building my understanding of the world around. This is where I learn what emotion looks like, what safety feels like, what love means in a body that does not yet have the word for it." And what you do in those moments, how you respond when you notice the stare, matters more than almost anything else you will do for your baby's development in the first months of life. Most parents, when they catch their baby staring, do one of two things. They smile back and look away after a second, returning to whatever they were doing, because being watched with that kind of intensity is a little uncomfortable and the laundry is not folding itself. Or they perform, they animate. They lean in and start talking and making faces and narrating at high volume because they have read somewhere that stimulation is good for development, and here is their baby, awake and available, so this must be the moment to deliver it. Both of these responses miss what the baby's nervous system is actually asking for in that moment, and understanding what it is actually asking for is where everything changes. Your baby's stare is not a request for entertainment. It is an invitation to synchronize. There is a concept in developmental neuroscience called serve and return interaction, and it is, according to decades of research, the single most important exchange that takes place between a caregiver and an infant in the first years of life. The metaphor is a game of tennis. The baby serves, they send a signal, a look, a sound, a gesture, a reach. The caregiver returns, they respond in a way that matches, reflects, or builds on the signal. The baby processes the return and serves again. The exchange continues. And with each volley, each serve, and each return, a synapse is formed, a neural connection is strengthened, a piece of the baby's brain is built. The serve is the stare. Your baby is looking at your face and sending a signal that says, "I am here, I am open, I am ready." What comes back matters enormously. Research from Harvard's Center on the Developing Child found that serve and return interaction is the primary mechanism through which early brain architecture is constructed. Not passive exposure to language, not enrichment activities, not educational toys. The back-and-forth exchange between a caregiver and an infant, initiated by the infant's signal and completed by the caregiver's response, is what builds the neural circuitry for language, for emotional regulation, for social cognition, for the capacity to form and maintain relationships across an entire lifetime, and the stare is how your baby initiates it. So what does a real return look like? Not performance, not narration, delivered at volume. A return is quieter than that and more specific. It is looking back fully, with your whole face available. It is letting your expression soften and respond to theirs, rather than overriding their signal with your own. It is meeting their eyes and holding them there long enough for their nervous system to register that the signal was received. It is the slight tilt of your head, the small smile that rises not because you decided to smile, but because you are genuinely looking at this person and something in you responds. Babies can read the difference. This is not a figure of speech. Research on infant facial processing shows that babies as young as 3 months can distinguish between a genuine emotional expression and a performed one. They read micro-expressions, the small involuntary movements of the face that precede and accompany real emotion, with a sensitivity that most adults have lost. When you perform at your baby, when you lean in with the animated voice and the exaggerated expression, their nervous system registers the mismatch between the surface signal and the underlying one. It does not feel like connection, it feels like noise. When you simply look back, when you let yourself be looked at, when you allow the moment to be what it is without trying to make it more, your baby's nervous system recognizes something it has been waiting for. It recognizes attunement, the experience of being seen by the specific person whose face they are learning to read. And in that recognition, something is deposited into the neural account that nothing else in their environment can deposit. If you're finding this helpful, please subscribe and turn on notifications. I upload new videos every week, and I'd hate for you to miss one. Your support is what makes this channel possible, and it genuinely means the world to me. There is a researcher named Edward Tronick, whose work you need to know about if you want to understand what your baby is doing when they stare at you. Tronick developed what is called the still face experiment, one of the most replicated and most emotionally clarifying studies in all of developmental psychology. In the experiment, a mother interacts normally with her infant, responding to the baby's signals with warmth and attunement, the natural serve and return of an engaged caregiver. Then, on a signal, the mother goes still. Her face becomes neutral, expressionless. She continues to look at the baby, but she stops responding. She stops returning the serve. What happens next is difficult to watch. The baby, who was engaged and animated seconds before, immediately notices the change. They try harder. They smile more broadly, gesture more emphatically, vocalize with increasing urgency. They are sending the signal louder, trying to get the return that has suddenly stopped coming. When the louder signals fail, the baby turns away. Then they try again. Then they turn away again. Within minutes, if the still face continues, the baby's entire system begins to dysregulate. Their posture slumps. Their affect flattens. Some babies begin to cry. Some go quiet in a way that is more distressing than crying, a shutdown response that researchers recognize as the nervous system withdrawing from an interaction it cannot make sense of. When the mother resumes normal interaction, it takes time for the baby to recover. The nervous system does not immediately return to its prior state. The rupture has to be repaired, and repair takes longer than rupture. What the still face experiment tells us is not that you must never have a bad moment with your baby, never be distracted, never be the exhausted parent who looks at their child without really seeing them. You will be all of those things. Every parent is. What it tells us is how much the return means, how central it is to your baby's entire experience of the world, that when they look at your face, something looks back. So go back to the ordinary moment, the laundry, the kitchen table, the diaper change, and your baby already looking at you when you look down. You understand now what that stare is. It is not random. It is not passive. It is your baby's brain in its highest state of readiness, initiating the most important exchange their nervous system knows how to ask for, choosing your face above every other object in their environment because your face is the one their entire understanding of the world is being built around. You are not being watched. You are being studied by someone who loves you more completely than they have the neurology to express, and who is in the specific silence of that stare, asking you for the one thing that will shape who they become more than any other single input in their early life. They are asking you to look back, not to perform, not to teach, not to stimulate or narrate or optimize, to look back fully with your face available and your attention real, long enough for their nervous system to register that the signal was received and the person on the other side of it is there. You do not have to be a perfect parent for this. You do not have to be present every second or get every moment right or never be distracted or tired or somewhere else in your head when your baby is looking at you. The research on secure attachment is not a story about perfect caregiving. It is a story about enough returns to the serve, enough moments of genuine attunement, enough times that your baby looked at your face and found something looking back. The brain is built for resilience as much as it is built for connection. It does not require a flawless record. It requires a consistent enough one that the internal working model being constructed, that neural map of what relationships are like and what to expect from the people in them, encodes safety as the default. What you are building in those quiet moments, in the stares that interrupt the ordinary middle of an ordinary day, is not a memory your baby will carry consciously. They will not remember the kitchen table, or the laundry, or the specific afternoon light. But they will carry, in the architecture of their nervous system, the accumulated evidence of what it felt like to look at a face and have it look back. That evidence becomes the foundation of everything: how they trust, how they love, how they move through the world, with the specific quality of security that comes not from the absence of difficulty but from the deep, pre-verbal knowledge that when they have reached out, someone has been there. The next time your baby stares at you, you do not need to do anything elaborate. You only need to stop and look back and let them see that you are there. That is enough. That has always been enough. Thank you so much for being here until the very end. It means everything. If this video changed how you see your baby even a little, please share it with another parent who needs to hear it. Check out the videos on your screen now. I think you'll love them. And subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one.